Hello, Mr. Sands psychology students. I am here today to help you guys find some articles for your research. So you've already come in reading Dr. Lewandowski's study, which is right here, which is great because if you have one study, a lot of times it's really easy to use that study to find a whole bunch of other research that you can use. And you guys are going to be looking for about 3 to 4 research articles that you can use. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to get into the West Senior Library page. And then from here, you're going to go to class projects and assignments, and you're going to go to social studies. And you're going to choose SUPA Psych under psychology. And we have some databases, but for this one, we're going to actually go right into Syracuse, which is a great resource for you guys, and you're paying for it. So we go into Syracuse. And one thing that I like to point out to you guys, because many of you guys will be going to college next year or the year after, but when you go to college, you will have a library and you will have general library resources, and you'll also have very specific library resources geared towards whatever you're going into. So if you're going into psychology, Syracuse they have very specific library resources, and they have a librarian for you. So you can see she's right here, Emily Hart. You could email her, you can chat with her. She's available for virtual meetings. So make sure that you find out who your librarian is and you get to know them when you go to college because they can be a big help. So once I go in here, I'm going to try to access one of the psychology databases, and I'm going to go into PsycInfo. And it's remembering me because I've used this already today. But for you guys, you're going to want to use your Syracuse ID and also your Syracuse password. So Mr. Sands has sent this to you. Your Syracuse ID is a long string of numbers, and you're going to add a 0 or a 1 to the end of those numbers. And then your password should be your last name, and all lowercase. Okay. And when you get into that, that should get you to a screen that looks like this. So I have a screen here where I can do a very specific search, and I'm going to do a specific search because I know exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to do a title search. So the first thing I'm going to do is over here, I'm going to select that I want to search for just a title. And then I'm going to type in the title of my article, which is College Students Preferences for Test Accommodations. That was the article that Dr. Lewandowski shared with you. So I'm going to search that. It's a very specific search. With a very specific search, I get very specific results, 1 of 1. There is the study. So you guys have already looked at this study. Okay, but we can use this study to help us find more. So I'm going to show you how we can do that. There are a couple of things we can do. We're going to click into the study. You can see I get the full text right here. All right, so I could always go out to that full text if I want. You guys don't need to do that because you already have it. But we're going to click on this so we can go into the record and we can see a little bit more about this study. So a couple things that come up that are helpful. It gives you a little description. If you look over here, you can see all of the references. That means things that Dr. Lewandowski and his team referred to. So if I click on this, there are 40 of them. This means that when they were doing this study, they used 40 articles to help them inform their research. Okay. So if they used articles to help inform their research, a lot of those articles you could use for your research. So you can look through here. You're going to see a whole list of all of the different articles. Some of them you're going to see do not have the full text right there. You could go into some other Syracuse databases and look for the full text, but it's not right there. Other articles, if I go down, I can see actually link me right to the full text from this list of references right here. So if this was a study that I wanted to take a look at, I could go ahead and look at this. This is just going to give me a little bit more information about it. And then I could go right into the full text of the article. Okay. But not every article it gives you is going to have the full text right there. Okay. So that's one way that you could find other sources. Another thing that I like to point out, I think is kind of interesting, and in your language, these are like likes, right? When you guys are using social media, everybody is liking things. So these cited references, you can think these are the articles that Dr. Lewandowski and his team liked and used, all right? Here, time cited in this database, this is telling you the number of times that Dr. Lewandowski's article was liked and used in this database. So there's two other resources here. I can click on this, and this is showing me that there are two other studies that actually use Dr. Lewandowski's research and his team. One of these has the full text right there, and one of these doesn't. So this is another thing that you could use if you wanted to. Another thing that you can do is I could look at some of the other studies that Dr. Lewandowski has done or some of his team members have done. A lot of times a researcher gets really embedded into one particular field of research and they do a lot of research. So they're not just going to publish one study about test accommodations. They may publish a lot more. So you could go into one of these and you can see that he has published 32 other articles. Some of them do not have to do with the topic that we're doing, but some of them do. Okay. So this is looking at response format test accommodation. All right. So those would be other articles that you could use. In addition to that, one last thing that I think is super, super helpful, especially as you get into more research projects when you get into college, when you find a good article, it is really, really helpful to go down and look at the subject headings. So these subject headings, somebody has read this article and they have said, this article is all about these particular topics. So what you can do is you can take a few of these subject headings and you can start to play around with them and see if you can find more articles. So my suggestion is you look through and you say, okay, what am I most interested in? Educational measurement, student attitudes, test administration. You could combine a few of these or you could start with one. So let's just say, for example, I'm interested in educational measurement, right? I want to know how we measure students and how they're doing educationally. So that takes all of the articles that have to do with this topic. I get 19,000. And now I could go ahead and I could add in either some other subject headings if I wanted to from that article or from that last page, or I could just add a few keywords. So maybe I'm interested in educational measurement and accommodations. Oop. So this is going to bring up anything that talks about educational measurement and also mentions accommodations. So I get 229 articles there. All right. So that is really narrowing it down for me. I can look through the articles, see if there's anything that looks good to me. If I like it and it has full text, you can also limit to full text out here if you want. And you can limit to how old an article is. But I could go ahead and look at that. If I want to narrow it even more, I could also add something like maybe perception. I want to know what perceptions of these accommodations are. All right. Now that really narrows it down for me. I get 10 results. But this is going to all have to do with educational measurement, so some form of testing or measurement. It's going to be mentioning accommodations. It's also going to be mentioning perceptions. I can see Dr. Lewandowski's article comes up there, and I can see some other articles that come up as well. So there is a great example of how you can take one article and you can use it to expand out and find lots of other sources on the same topic. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. All right, have a good day.